Hi, and welcome to another podcast episode of Just Scare Us Already, where we talk about new films and we take a look back at some older films as well to give you our take on those films. And if you like what you hear, click on the subscribe button and like us. So, in our first few episodes, you've heard us complain about how recent horror movies have failed to scare us. In this episode, we want to go a more positive route and talk about some of our favorite horror films. Keep in mind that not everyone has the same taste in films. What we think was good, you may think were bad. These are films that we felt, in our opinion, were some of the best. So, Shy, we're going to go through the top five. So, what's fifth on your list?
So, fifth on my list, and I will give an honorable mention first to the movie I Saw the TV Glow.
Okay.
This is a brand new movie. It's an A24 movie. This movie has stuck itself in my head in a way that has made me feel so uncomfortable.
Really?
I cannot get it out of my mind. I don't want to put on my top five because I don't know if I like the movie, which is what bothers me. I don't think I like the movie, but it has gnawed into my mind, which if you see this movie, it is kind of scary how I genuinely feel like I'm going absolutely insane. So, anyways, it's honorable mention because I could not get myself to put it on the list as a top five, but it was very close. But my number five is The Thing, the 1982 version.
Okay.
All about a research team in Antarctica who is hunted by a shape-shifting alien that assumes the appearance of its victim, starring Kurt Russell, Wilford Brimley, and Keith David, and directed by none other than John Carpenter. This movie I adore, and a reason why it's always on my list is because I love the practical effects. The way that they do that special effects is so phenomenal, and it will never not amaze me and freak me out and kind of be really uncomfortable. So that's my number five on my list.
All right.
What about you?
Yeah. So for number five, I also was tossing up between two different films. So I just did the lazy way and called it a tie. So at number five, I have The Conjuring, which is the film about Ed and Lorraine Warren, who were investigators, paranormal investigators. Lorraine Warren also claims that she's psychic. So they would investigate different hauntings and possessions and things like that. So the film revolves around a family that unfortunately moves into a new house and is haunted by a demon. And they are called to help get this demon out of the house. So this movie, for me, it's one of those films I watch every Halloween. It has just the right amount of jump scares and creepiness that I enjoy. Every time I think about the hand clap game, that in itself was really, really good. Well done. So I thought The Conjuring, very good horror film. Now I tied it with 2013's Evil Dead. Some say this was a soft reboot of the original Evil Dead film. However, this one to me wasn't as campy as the original Evil Dead. I thought in some scenes, the original Evil Dead was kind of silly, whereas this one took a more modern and realistic approach. So this film was about some friends getting together to do an intervention with their friend who was on drugs. So they decide to go out to this cabin and just have her go cold turkey and take her off the drugs. Her brother and one of the friends find a book. And of course, one friend has to try to read the book. Have they not learned? You find a book tied with barbed wire and stuffed in a plastic bag and buried. Don't read it.
And made of human skin.
Yeah, exactly. And made of human skin and written in blood. So, yeah, that's something I want to read. But the movie had a lot of scary scenes. The makeup and special effects were really good. spoiler alert, there's a scene where one of the teenagers is in the bathroom and she's cutting
Wow.
herself with a broken piece of mirror. I mean, it creeps me out every time I see it. So yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites. So those two films, I couldn't give one number five and one number six, so I just gave them a tie.
And I understand that. That's a really hard choice. Well, my number four on my list, and this one is mostly for nostalgic reasons. I don't know if it's really scary, so to speak, but it scared me when I was a kid.
Hmm.
But The Ring, the 2002 version, directed by Gore Verbinski, an American remake of a Japanese movie called Ringu. This movie follows a journalist who must investigate the mysterious videotape that seems to cause the death of anyone within a week of watching it. And this movie, when you're a kid, you are told the monster's in the movie. It can't get you. It's in the TV. This girl came out of the TV. She said, nope, not me. And that scared me so much as a kid. I was like, wait, hold up. If a monster can come out of the TV, what is stopping it from killing me? So I could not go without putting this on my list for that reason. It still, in my opinion, holds up. I know a lot of people don't like the movie, especially since it's a remake, but I don't know. I think that it still is really good. I think that the mystery of it is drawn out really well. It's followed at a good
Hmm.
pace. I don't really like the second one or any of the other ones to come after, but this one, at least for the first one, I thought held up in a really good way. The actors were all good, minus the bad special effects of the deer scene that has gone in infamy of being horribly CGI'd. But that's my number four on my list, mostly for personal nostalgic reasons.
Well, nothing wrong with that. And for my number four, without divulging my actual age, my list is a lot more old school from here. Growing up in the '70s and '80s, these films scared me to death, and in most cases, I think they still stand the test of time. So at number four, I have Alien. This was the original
Yes.
number one Alien film starring Sigourney Weaver, where a mining ship is told to go and investigate a distress signal that they receive on this remote planet. And turns out on this remote planet is a ship filled with face grabbing aliens that impregnate you. And eventually you got this thing busting out of your chest. So for me, I've seen all the Alien films, so the formula gets a little tired. Looking forward to the new one, Alien Romulus, that's coming out.
Yes.
But for me, as a young person, Alien was pretty freaky. I mean, to actually see the creature pop out of the guy's chest. I mean, everybody in the theater was like, "What the?" you know, because that was pretty shocking. And then the film just had a really good pace. While they're looking for the alien, they try to kill it, and while they're hunting it, it's hunting them. I thought the ending scene was really good as well. It was just a well paced, well directed movie. Ridley Scott did a great job, and it started the franchise. And that's one of my favorite films. Every time I come across it on TV, I stop and watch it. That's how I can tell when I like it.
That's a great choice. Yes, and fun fact, the crew was just as scared by the face hugger popping out of his chest. No
Mhm.
one on set knew that was going to happen, at least not at that point. So all those reactions, very real and mirrored exactly what everyone felt watching that movie.
Yeah, yeah, and another fun fact is that the director would walk around the set with a starter pistol, and every now and then he would just fire it to keep people on edge.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah. So,
I did not know that one.
yep. So they were always on edge because they never knew when he was going to, just pop it off.
Jeez, that sounds toxic.
So, what do you have at number
Well,
three?
going to my middle, I have the movie 1408.
Okay.
And this might be a really weird one to have. But I love this movie, directed by Michael Hofstrom, and based off of a Stephen King, I believe, short story.
Okay. Yep, you're right.
Is it?
That was a Stephen King
Okay.
story. Yep.
It's all about author Michael Enslin, portrayed by John Cusack, who specializes in debunking paranormal occurrences, who checks into the fabled room 1408 in the Dolphin Hotel in New York City. Once settled in, he confronts genuine terror. And this movie, it is such a mind-bending, weird, reality twisting horror movie. It doesn't really scare me at any points. Maybe one scene kind of gets me to jump,
Mm-hmm.
but anytime it's on TV, anytime I see it on a streaming site, I will watch this movie. I don't know what it is about it. I love it. I love the way that the room messes with his head. I like that it delves into personal issues along with this haunting issue, and that he's just like refuses to believe it despite seeing ghosts and despite seeing this room literally freeze over, and he's like, nah, this isn't real. And something about that I genuinely enjoy. And maybe because I feel like I would do that if I was in a haunted hotel room. I would just try my best to say none of it's real and I'm just going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I really like this movie. I think it's kind of reminiscent of The Shining, but done in a much more enclosed space, and really focusing on, I guess, what Jack would have been dealing with in The Shining, of his mental state going absolutely crazy, versus focusing on Danny, who's reaping the hardships of Jack going crazy. So I liked it. And I also really enjoy the three alternate endings that this movie comes with. Every time I like to watch all the different endings, and yeah, I don't know, I just really enjoy it. I don't know how to explain it. It's not scary, it's not super thrilling, but the pace is really well done. The acting, John Cusack does a phenomenal job in this movie. The ghosts are really cool, and the filming of it, the actual editing and filmography of it is just gorgeous, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. 1408 is a really good film. I definitely enjoy watching that film as well. I've seen it several times. So yeah, definitely a good pick. So my number three is actually your number five, which is The Thing.
Oh.
Again, just like you said, the special effects were phenomenal. And growing up, as I mentioned earlier, in that time in movie history. Um, a lot of films you hadn't seen that before. There was the way the creature would break off and reveal itself was, you know, exceptional, and it's just a good film all around. Well paced, definitely keeps you on your edge of your seat. For anyone who hasn't seen it, there are some intense moments, especially spoiler alert when they're testing the blood to see if anyone's
Oh,
infected with the alien. So I won't go much further into it than that. But yeah, definitely a great scene. So yeah, definitely love The Thing. Another film that I watch every Halloween.
it's a great choice for number three. My number two is actually one that we talked about in one of our first few episodes, but the new movie Smile,
Okay.
directed by Parker Finn. After witnessing a bizarre traumatic incident involving a patient, a psychiatrist became increasingly convinced she is being threatened by an uncanny entity. This movie freaks me out. I had to rewatch it for our one of our previous videos about monsters and the designs of the monsters, and watching it again, oh my god, it still got me. There's so many scare scenes that I knew were coming,
Mm-hmm.
and I still got jumped by them. I still got freaked. It was the design of the creature, although reminiscent of other ones that we've seen, especially the mom. But at the end part where it shows the real creature, freaky. Great design, really interesting and cool of that version of it, not when it was the mother. And the idea of it, the concept of this creature following you, and I know it's kind of like It Follows, but better in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
and taking the form of people who you know, and this creepy smile and driving you insane. It was just so good. And I'm so excited for the new one that's coming out, Smile 2, with a
Mhm.
pop star being the victim of the whole thing. I'm hoping it's going to be better because that concept sounds even cooler,
Mhm.
of someone who's forced to be around people having to deal with this. I'm so psyched for it. But Smile, it freaks me out every time I watch it. I am looking in the corners, I am staring in the shadows, I am trying to find this creature. And the ending, I love a good unhappy ending. I love a good horrible ending. No one is happy. No one I love those type of movies, and this was that. The ending of it made me so depressed in a good way.
Yeah, definitely a good movie. I enjoyed Smile as well. Definitely had some creepy parts, and I don't know if you saw me, but I was smiling while you were talking.
I did.
So yeah, but a good choice, a good choice. And as I said earlier, I'm more old school, having grown up in the '70s and '80s. So of course, my number two is Jaws. A lot of folks will watch that nowadays and kind of probably snicker and laugh about it. It was one of Steven Spielberg's first big hits. And it's a film about a shark. It's a film about a small northeastern uh, island called not called, but island out there and by New York and Maine, where in the summertime they it's a touristy place, so of course in the summertime they make their money, and when a body washes up on shore, the new police chief wants to close the beach for fear that the shark will attack again. But the mayor and the rest of the townspeople don't want to close the beach because that's where they make their money for the summer. So, of course, the shark attacks again and again. And then they decide to hire an old grizzly boat captain who says he can catch and kill a shark for 10 grand. And so off they go to hunt the shark. I growing up, this movie made me afraid of the water. And I know that sounds cliche-ish, but I refuse to get in the ocean. Sometimes I refuse to get in a lake. And I know there's no sharks in the lake, but I don't want to get in the lake. you know, um,
I can contest to this.
yeah, yeah. Jaws freaked me out. I mean, that the scene where they finally reveal him, because most of the movie, all you see is the fin and the dun 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 music, which was really well done by John Williams. Um,
So well done.
but when they finally reveal the shark, when he comes up out of the water, I lost my mind, and I've been terrified ever since. And I can honestly say that that's another film that no matter how many times I've already seen it, if it's on TV or on one of the streaming channels, I will sit there and watch it again. I probably know the movie word for word, scene for scene, but it still,
Hmm.
it still gets me every time that shark comes out of the water. I'm just like, oh, so yeah, so
And it's a good movie. It holds up.
hmm yeah,
It didn't make me as scared of the water, but I do think about it every now and then. When I was in Hawaii, that was the first thought when I saw signs that said shark warnings. I said, "Oh no,
yeah.
this is gonna be a jaw situation."
Well,
But
especially,
I thought that movie, it handled the music really well. It did what um, movies like Halloween and Friday 13th did. They took that one song and it's synonymous now,
hmm
or the one tune, not even a song, a tune, synonymous
hmm
with Jaws in an amazing way.
oh yeah, yeah. Every time anyone hears that music, they know right away what it is. Yeah, no, I don't think there's anyone on the planet that could hear that dun 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 and not know where that's from.
Hmm. Or even having people at the beach doing that to each other. I mean, that says a lot about the movie
hmm
and why it would be number two on your list.
Exactly.
Although I will say I'm surprised number two or on your bottom two. I don't know what your first one is, but I'm surprised Arachnophobia hasn't come up
That movie,
for you.
yeah, I can't watch that. I've seen it
Same.
probably 2 or 3 times, and it makes my skin crawl. So Can't watch it. It's not one of those movies that I will sit and watch because I get the heebie-jeebies.
I understand. That movie made me scared to eat popcorn every now and then. Terrifying movie. But it did not make my number one. My number one is like your number five. Well, one of your number five, but Evil Dead 2013.
Mm,
For the exact same reasons, director Freddy Alvarez, which surprisingly, this was his directorial debut.
okay.
And he did such a good job. He views it as a reimagining rather than a remake of the movie.
Hmm.
And I could agree with that. Kind of like what you said, the first one felt a little sillier, a little goofy, um, more so in the later films of it and the Ash series.
Hmm.
But I thought that Jane Levy did such a good job in this movie. She, um, as the drug addict, as the possessed girl, was so good. She was so creepy, and the bathroom scene terrifies me. Their scene when she's outside at the end of the movie,
Hmm.
and it's spoiler alert, but it's raining blood down. So good. I thought they handled gore in a beautiful way. It wasn't overdone. It was done in a way that fit the movie, fit the idea of it, and was gruesome and cringeworthy and just oh, so good. I loved it watching the original as a kid. I did like that movie as well. I didn't really understand the hype of it, but watching this remake, I get it a bit more. I really am loving it. I kind of hope they go with more stuff. I like the Evil Dead Rises that came out recently, and I'm hoping they'll do another one because this idea of it, of this possessive demon that really messes with someone and messes with the whole family and is gruesome. I'm enjoying it. So this is my number one. It's a movie that when it comes on, I love to watch it. I will always cringe. It's not as scary to me. I'm not screaming, but I'm definitely cringing. I'm definitely unable to watch some of the scenes all the way through.
Hmm.
And I love the effects of it. And again, I love Jane Levy. I thought she did phenomenal. She's also in Don't Breathe and an older show called Suburbia. And I think that she's such a phenomenal actress. And I really hope that she continues to do a lot more. And I hope she does more horror stuff because I just think that she does such a good job at being creepy.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's my number one. And so now for your top
Drum
movie.
roll. Yeah, no, Evil Dead is a really good film, and I did enjoy Evil Dead Rises. The ending still plays in my head, so I won't divulge any more than that. But yeah, it's a good movie. So my number one is The Exorcist. Again, as a kid growing up in the 70s and 80s, I wasn't allowed to go to the theater to see The Exorcist because of all the hype that audiences were fainting and throwing up in the aisles and running out of the theaters scared to death. My parents wouldn't let me go see it. Wasn't until maybe 4 or 5 years later I actually got to see it. Um, it was playing at the drive-in with another film, and one of my older brothers took me to go see it, and scared me to death. I wish I hadn't saw it. That night I couldn't sleep. I had to sleep with the lights on. I was terrified. So, The Exorcist, for those of you who may not have seen it, is about a young little girl played by, I can't think of her name now, Blair, Linda Blair. There we go. So played by Linda Blair, where she is possessed by a demon. And then the story revolves around her mother trying to understand what's wrong with her daughter. You know, they think she has some mental issue. So the doctors run test after test after test. And finally, she comes to the realization that her daughter is possessed by a demon. So she reaches out to a priest for help. The priest at first doesn't believe her, doesn't think she's truly possessed, but then he quickly realizes, yes, she's possessed by a demon, so they go to perform the exorcist or exorcism. The film for 1973, I don't think anyone had ever seen anything like that before, but the hype also fed into the fuel for the exorcist. The movie can be slow at times, but it's still, some of the scariest special effects. The bed thumping around, the head spinning, the pea soup vomiting. It's not over the top. It's subtle, but the film had enough tension and eeriness about it that I think it keeps audiences um, entertained. But again, there can be slow moments to it. There's actually a director's cut version where they say the movie that you never saw in theaters, and it just had a couple extra scenes that I thought didn't add much to the movie. So
Hmm.
watch the original. Uh, you get the same story, but yeah, still one of my favorites. Another film that I watch every Halloween. Just it definitely brings me back to my childhood when I watch it. Nowadays there are much better special effects and CGI and stuff. So if they ever remade the movie, it probably would be more gory and bloody. But
Hmm.
uh, for 1973 though, this one was perfect. I mean, I love this film and still enjoy watching
That's so sweet. That's a sweet story. But I mean, if you were that scared, you kind of are messed up for then showing it to your very young daughter.
it. Right?
But I will say, seeing the movie as a kid too, even with having watched movies with much more special effects and much gorier things, that movie still held up. I was still freaked out by this little girl. But Linda Blair did a phenomenal job,
Hmm.
an unbelievably amazing job. But yeah, that movie holds up. I'll give you that. That was a freaky movie. Again, and maybe if I had been around during the hype of it, it probably would have freaked me out more.
Hmm.
I would probably put it on par for my generation, or at least my youth, of Veronica. I know that's an exorcism movie that was hyped kind of similarly, where people were like, oh, running from theaters, the scariest movie, no one can finish it, people are feeling sick. It is also an exorcism movie, and the hype did help to build that movie, and it was a very good movie. Um, so I understand that part of it, but yeah, I wish I could have experienced The Exorcist, uh, the same way, with the same hype and the same, this is the first time it's ever been done type of thing.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
because I can definitely understand why it would be so freaky.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, for a movie that the Catholic Church tried to ban, that's just how
Yeah.
big the hype was. People were like, "Oh, if you go watch this movie, the devil is going to possess you," and things like that. So that was probably another reason why my parents wouldn't let me go watch it.
Is this why you never let me have a Ouija board?
Probably. But one interesting tidbit, and this would be a spoiler for those who have not seen The Exorcist, the beginning, or Believers, whatever it's called, the new
Yeah,
Believers.
believers.
Yeah, Linda Blair makes an appearance in the film, and during an interview, they asked her why did she, because at first she was totally against being in it, and then she agreed to it, and they asked why did she finally agree to appear in the film, and she said she wanted to make sure the two little girls that were in the film understood what was going on, because she said that
Oh,
movie messed her head up. you know, Not just
oh,
that,
I
but
bet.
the fame of it all too. I mean, Linda Blair is probably no secret to anyone. She had a drug and alcohol problem as a teenager, because of all the fame that the movie bestowed on her. But she said making the film itself really messed with her head. So she wanted to make sure the two little girls that are in Exorcist the Believers understood what was going on and tried to help explain things to them so they wouldn't wind up in the same boat. So yeah, pretty interesting.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. That's actually really great.
Yeah. So
Well, that is our top list.
yeah, yeah, and I think it's safe to say that we have all experienced a film growing up that we thought was the scariest film ever, and there'll never be another. But as we get older, the things that we thought were scary aren't really scary anymore. But I'm sure we all can agree that when we sit in our favorite movie theater and the house lights dim, we want to watch a film that's going to take us back to those youthful days, when we left the theater afraid of every shadow on the wall, and we were too afraid to look in the closet or look under the bed or even turn off the lights. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a film to scare us.
Well, go ahead and leave a comment down below about your top 5 horror movies. And it is a very hard thing to pick. So we are very interested in reading what you guys think. Let us know what you think of our list. If you have any that are similar, give us a like, a subscribe, and make sure you tune in for the next episode of Just Scare Us Already.
Bye.